age. I mean, and they were into hardcore stuff. I mean, my sisters, they were into drugs and they were drinking and they snuck out of the house all the time. They both ended up pregnant in high school. I mean, they were little hellraisers, and they'll tell you this every day of the week. The one is now married with 3 little boys under the age of 4 and is a stay-at-home mom and is amazing at what she does. My other sister is part of Cummins Diesel, the regional warehouse supervisor for the Southeast region, and travels constantly. I mean, so they work their way out of it. So I guess you would say they're seekers,
but in different ways.
But they're seekers in their own way, I guess.
They did bring themselves out of that they could have very easily been trapped in, though.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. So I know for my one sister, getting pregnant in high school was the best thing that ever happened to her because she was on the fast track to being a heroin addict.
Oh.
Absolutely.
Yeah, see how that worked out? That's funny, isn't it?
So that was a learning experience, all of that, just to bring her out of that. Yeah.
Huh,
she went cold turkey, drinking, drugs, all of it. She's like, I'm done.
Very good.
Yes.
So we have Juliana Tacey with us here, too. She's our resident massage therapist, and I'm going to ask you the same question. What makes some people hunger for self-improvement of any type? And I don't mean just spiritual. I mean like they want to learn a new skill, like they're redoing their bathroom, and they're not going to pay a tile person to do their tile. They're going to learn how to do it and do it themselves. There's several different kinds of growing, or maybe they retired and they always wanted to know how to paint, and so they're going to take a painting class. Or it could be a spiritual seeker, too. What makes that kind of person? Why?
I don't think that there's an easy answer. I mean, what we do now is going to inflict or going to have some kind of thing to do with our future, and I'm not certain that we're going to be ready, and we're always trying to get more and do that thing that we're always trying not to think about that we want. But in this case, maybe there's something in our subconscious that's bringing us to fruition, and we just want to be ready for that thing when it gets here.
That's a good way to look at it.
I want more. I want to be ready when it comes, and I want everything, and I don't want to stop. I don't want to think, well, this is going to happen here and this is going to happen here. I want it all right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's.
I guess maybe it's because we want so much that we're still growing.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know how we're going to get it, and we're trying everything to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's out of want.
Yeah.
I don't think that
that's
it's just
interesting.
Money,
No.
It has to do with education, and it has to do with sometimes religion and sometimes just spiritual growth. It has a lot to do with how we're trying to be perceived.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point, too. What about you, little Miss Debbie, sitting down there?
Yes, here. Yes.
Your mic is already on. Oh. No, she can use that one. Yeah. Okay. There's even headphones there for you.
Well, you're speaking to me, my language, because I'm constantly seeking. I'm doing something new all the time. I have my own tile saw. I've been known to rip my house up as close as 2 weeks before a huge expo. And I think for me, it's like mass chaos, and then it's freak or flow. And I'm going to freak if I'm just focusing on one thing.
Yeah.
So I'm always on to the next project, and I'm feeling like this too shall pass. I'm giving it my best effort, and on to the next thing. That I'm moving through the process. I'm always doing my best, and everyone around me is doing their best. And my husband has said over the years, we're in the same house 25 years, and he's like, are you ever going to be done remodeling? And I thought about it, and I went, what is wrong with me? I do. I tear everything up constantly. And that, to me, is progress.
Yeah.
I'm recreating. I think that's a creative process.
Recreating. That's very good.
Mm-hmm. Destroying is part of the creation.
It is. I love to knock down walls and tear things apart.
And what is it
be
about
the demolition
you that likes that, do you think? What makes you do that?
I'm restless. I'm always looking for the next project, the next exciting thing.
Do you have siblings?
I have one brother.
And is he like that?
He is.
Huh, that's interesting. Were your parents like that?
My father
Your
is.
dad, he's sitting right there.
Yes, over here.
We can't talk about him.
Yeah, and I think from an early age, from the time I was 12 years old, I remember psychology books in the house, and he was a counselor for Alcoholics Anonymous, and
he kind of instilled that in you, so to speak.
Good to have
He
a
did.
Still, I didn't mean to get it.
he did. So, that's where I think my passion grew for learning about personalities and understanding the psychology of people, which I ended up ultimately in sales, which was beneficial.
You might as well
Yes.
be a psychologist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not paid like a psychologist, but,
No.
But the potential is always there.
It could be
Right,
another career.
Yes.
But the potential's there,
Yes.
of course.
It is.
And what about you, Becky? What do you think separates the seekers from the whatevers?
Well, for me, because I am a lifetime seeker, which isn't always beneficial for me, but to me it comes down to we have these 5 senses, right? And
Right.
that's what we're aware of all the time. But I think there's much more out there than what we're aware of. I don't think that all of the universal truths have really been revealed to us as of yet. And so I think inherently we know that. We know that we don't know it all. Even like 100 years ago, people said, if we were meant to fly, we would have been born with wings. And look at how much our world has changed just since then. And I think there's so many universal truths out there that once revealed to us would give us such a greater understanding of the world that we live in the emotions that we feel, and our physical bodies and all these things. And I think that there's just a general longing to understand and to delve into these issues that we just simply don't know about. And the more that we learn, the more that we can try to understand those things. But those 5 senses just simply aren't enough. And so our mind tries to seek out something additional.
I think so.
That's what I think.
agree.
That's pretty eclectic there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was
I'm going to have to
following
dwell
right
on that one a little bit. And I'll tell you why this has always been a big question for me, and you're probably going to laugh about it. I grew up in a very devout Catholic family, and I was adopted. So even though I fit in to some extent, I really never fit in. My skin was the color of their freckles. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
very fair.
Yeah.
And my parents were really good. Everything was always explained to me, but I always just wondered, what if? And none of my cousins are like that. Nobody's like that except for me. And so, it's partly because my dad used to take us on these really good vacations, and I saw other things and other people. And I listened to him talk about when he was in the service and all the different countries and all the traveling he went to. So I blame part of it on him.
That's a good blame, though.
It is, and he
Yeah.
was happy to take responsibility for that. But I still don't know why. I like all of you gave me something to think about on that. And my only theory is that for some reason, and everybody's born different, everybody's born with a different set of values. Even though we are raised with a certain set, we can shed those anytime we want and become who we are. They're just memes. They're learned actions and learned thoughts, and we can get rid of those. And yet there's always going to be a set of those people that look over the fence, that walk down to the corner to look down the street, or whatever. Read that book like you were just saying, Melissa, about Eckhart Tolle just popped in when you didn't expect it. And you accept that. Now, somebody else, that could have happened to somebody else, and they would have just gone, oh, great, and not taken that as man, I better read that. The universe is trying to read. There are those people, and those are the people that are going to change your life, that are going to make a difference. The way, they're just going to be the people that you bond with if that's how you are, and you will know them almost instantaneously. Isn't that right, Melissa?
Oh, absolutely. I can tell you, working at the front desk of a hotel, being my quote-unquote normal job, has been one of the best training tools ever. because I can almost guarantee you within probably a 90% accuracy rate, I can feel another reader or I can feel another energy healer almost immediately the second they step up to the desk.
Yeah,
without
just
even
that
having to say a
energy,
word.
huh?
You just know.
Right.
You can feel it.
Right. So it's more than a perception, it's an actual physical feeling.
For me, it was an absolute drive. And I can remember part of that drive even as a young child. I mean, I was reading, constantly, probably from the time I was in second grade, going to the library every single day. I was reading the Laura Ingalls Wilder series when I was in second grade. I mean, it was
Wow.
I mean, it was just voraciously. So it's a constant push, a craving, and you shut it off and you can feel, because you get caught up in these, expectations of, well, I'm supposed to be doing this and I'm supposed to be doing this. And, for instance, graduating, I graduated high school. The unwritten expectation was you graduate high school, you go to college, you have a career, you get married, you have children. Dad never said it, but that was the unwritten expectation. In doing so, you shut off, or at least I did, and multiple people that I run into shut off that craving for more knowledge because I have to fill X, Y, and Z roles now.
Right, yeah.
I don't have time for this. And
Maybe
so I think
that's
that's
the
where women
sixth
are really
sense.
starting to come into their own power again, is they're realizing they don't just have to fill X, Y, and Z roles, but they get to be them while they're filling these roles. And it's a whole different way of life now than it was even 10, 20 years ago.
It
can be really unsettling for people who don't necessarily understand it.
And they never will.
Some will, some won't. It's, it's their own personal journey. Almost, sometimes I want to say it's almost like a soul contract. It's what they contracted before they came down. Like, I wanted to learn X, Y, and Z lessons, and this is how I'm going to do it. And you forget it when you come down, and off we go. Now you get to, this is college for you.
That's a good
Now you get to figure it all out.
A soul contract.
Carolyn Mace wrote an amazing book called Soul Contracts, if you ever have an opportunity to read it.
My
Well,
mom
pretty
often talked
insightful
about
stuff.
that.
I'm going to have to get that. That's very interesting because that would explain why some people are seekers and why some people aren't. Say that three times
absolutely.
fast.
And why
And she
you
goes through
repeat.
an entire,
Yes.
archetypes as well, and you're born into certain archetypes, and you can figure out what those are.
See, and if you tried to tell some people these things, they would go,
Right.
whatever.
Absolutely.
But they're on a different
Like
contract.
My significant other.
Yes, mine too.
doesn't
But
necessarily
there's
get it
not
until
anything
support
wrong
me.
with that. There's not
Exactly.
not anything wrong with that. Because if we were all the same and we were all seekers, it would get pretty boring, I think, Wouldn't it?
Yes.
And, having been in a relationship with somebody who was like myself, it was either really, really good or it was an absolute disaster. There was no medium. There was no middle ground.
Huh.
So that makes absolute sense.
Very interesting. So we have several different takes on my question. So self-improvement, it's already 7:28. We're going to, when the music comes on, will you hang with us? And when you come back, I'm going to ask you the question of if someone was just about to start some type of self-improvement journey and being on a spiritual sense, let's say, where would be the best place you feel that they should start? But until then, why don't you tell us how we can get a hold of you? And I also want to hear about the other thing that you're doing too. How can we get a hold of you?
I can be reached at mtlhartman@gmail.com, and that's my direct email address. I also have a website that goes through all the different services and all the workshops, kind of keeps everybody up to date. melissathlhartman.com. Pretty simple, straightforward. And it'll have all my contact information on there as well as the business. I do
Keep
things
going.
in the office as well as the Skype appointments with people and readings and coaching and so on and so forth.
Great.
So, yeah.
And if you would post your links and everything on our Facebook page, and I'll make sure I share them with everybody, that would just be fantastic. So we're going to take a little break here. We're going to